One of my favorite grooves when I was growing up was a groove by Omar Hakim, and it's on the Sting album Dream of the Blue Turtles, and the track is called Shadows in the Rain. And it starts off, I'm going to play my version of it. This isn't a direct note-for-note transcription. It's basically my interpretation of that groove. That is the kind of thing I'm talking about. And the reason that I want to cover it in this lesson is the first time I tried to play it, I played it without keeping the shuffle going on the ride cymbal, which is an easy way to play it. And actually, it's not that far off how Omar plays it. But when I was working it out back then, I listened and I thought, oh, he's keeping the shuffle going for the whole thing. I mean, I just listened to it before I started recording this lesson, and it's actually quite a bit sloppier than I remember. There's some some notes in there that are almost accidental hits of cymbals, which I never noticed when I was 14. But it's a really cool groove, and there are a few things that I think really make it, and a few things that when I learned this were pretty hard for me to do. So they're what I want to cover in the rest of this lesson. So let's begin with a kind of framework pattern, just the accented kicks and snare notes, and we'll build it up around that. But this is the thing that I'm kind of focusing on when I'm playing it. So basically you've got all of those pushed bass drum notes at the end. So that's all of the let of the triplets at the end there. So I'll write it out so you can see it on the screen. If your music reading isn't that great, then I have some lessons on my website, How to Read Music for Drummers, which walks you up from knowing nothing at all about notation to the stage where you'll be able to understand this and be pretty comfortable with most drum music. The key to the rest of the groove is the ghost notes, basically. Those things, those elements stay the same. And then it's all about what you do on the snare drum. The thing that I found particularly tricky, and I was really chuffed when I got this for the first time, was playing overlapping shuffle and snare drum notes. So this is what I mean. So basically you're playing 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2, 3, 4 on the ride, and the left hand is playing the 1 trip of the triplet. So 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Both hands together, then the left hand, and then the right hand. And the trick with this is it's not too difficult to play slowly, but when you get it up to the faster tempos, whatever your right hand is doing needs to feel exactly the same as what it's doing if there's no left hand. So if you can play a shuffle, you can keep that going, ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding. When you add the left hand, this shouldn't feel any different. You should keep that going and it should feel exactly the same. And that's hard because you're playing with your left hand these 2 quiet strokes. The first one needs to line up with the shuffle, and that's not too bad. And the middle one is on its own, which shouldn't be an issue, so So that's one of the overlaps. And I think when you're starting out, this is pretty difficult to do. And I remember very clearly being 14 or 15 on holiday with my parents, sitting waiting to go into a restaurant, and I was just sitting there on my knees going 1, 2, 2, just trying to work these motions in and get comfortable with this thing. And I still find it satisfying to play on the drums. So that's one of the overlaps you can do. And the other one is to play the triplet on the snare. So you go 1, triplet, 2, triplet. So then you've got the right hand on its own, and then the left hand, and then both together. Right, left, together, right, left, together. But again, when you're working on this slowly, you're just thinking, okay, this, 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 this. But when you're playing a shuffle, you're not thinking right, space, right, right, space, right, right. You're just playing the movement and the motion. So that's where it gets difficult, is transitioning from the slow version up until getting it to the stage where you're just playing a shuffle. So when I'm working on things like that, I like to play the shuffle by itself at a kind of a medium tempo, and then try and add the left hand and pay attention to whether anything changes with the motion of my right hand, or how it feels or how it sounds. So kind of like this. So the idea being that you work on these at a tempo that's comfortable until you can keep this comfortable shuffle going and add the left hand. So that's the principle behind this, and it's the same principle as for jazz independence. You keep a jazz swing ride pattern going and work on different things with your other limbs. But the key with that is to be able to play the ride cymbal pattern in a relaxed manner and play it exactly how you would if you didn't have to play all these other things with it. So that's the starting point. Okay, so I'll show you how I use this in the groove. So for the most part, I'm just playing the middle of the notes. 1 triplet 2, 3 and 4, and 1 triplet 2. And then all I do is usually on beat 4, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So on the 4 in the second bar, I play not a backbeat, but a quiet note followed by that extra note. Okay, so put that into the rest of the groove. What I like about that is that not having the backbeat on beat 4 of bar 2 gives this a kind of 2-bar phrase feel to it. It repeats after 2 bars, and you take out that snare drum so it's not so repetitive, and it gives it this nice kind of dynamic envelope, if you like. So if I play that a little faster. That really is the bulk of the groove. So one of the things that I sometimes do is we played the 4 triplet there, and I'll play the next 1 triplet. So 1, 2, 3, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2. That sounds like this. So 4 triplet, 1 triplet. So you could practice just an entire bar of that. So basically just keeping the 1 trip, 2 trip, 3 trip, 4 trip while playing the bass drum pattern underneath. And then I would also try and do the same thing, same bass drum pattern, but playing the triplet on the snare drum. So 1 triplet, 2 triplet. So when you've got comfortable with all of those exercises, you should feel fairly comfortable to kind of improvise around this basic groove. So the last thing I want to point out is I think there's a really nice use of dynamics in the fact that we're coming down and not hitting that 4 as a backbeat in bar 2, but you can basically play the whole thing fairly quietly and you know, bring the volume up and down like you've got a little fader, and it makes it sound more organic. So I'll play it basically at a fairly consistent dynamic level, and then I'll hit the crash so you know where I'm switching, and then I'll try and play it with some kind of, you know, up and down volume stuff going on and see which you prefer. So, you know, I find it more fun to play, not trying to be so consistent and even all the time. I like that dynamic envelope. If you want to check out more lessons like this, then head over to my website, joecrabtree.com, and you can sign up and get a bunch of lessons for free. And then there's some stuff in the VIP section that I put a new video out every week. And it's things that I think are helpful, technique-wise, things that I think are cool, groove-wise and fill-wise and solo-wise. Just stuff that I think will, you know, hopefully give you something to work on and inspire you to keep trying new things. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll see you next time.